The Dominion's Reign Captain Elena Vasquez stood frozen on the bridge of the Terran exploration vessel Horizon's Dawn, watching the most horrifying sight she had ever witnessed. Through the main view screen, the peaceful world of Aetherier Prime burned beneath a sky filled with alien warships. The ships were unlike anything in human databases, living things of metal and flesh that pulsed with their own heartbeats and bristled with weapons that grew from their hulls like thorns. The Vorthic Dominion had arrived. For 3 centuries, the Dominion had carved a bloody path through the galaxy, conquering 89 star systems and enslaving countless civilizations. Their biomechanical warships were nightmares made real, vessels that could adapt and evolve during combat, growing new weapons and defenses as needed. No force in known space had ever successfully challenged them. Captain, the Aetherian Defense. Fleet is attempting to engage, reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim, her voice tight with controlled emotion. The young communications officer had been monitoring the battle frequencies, translating the desperate pleas for help that echoed across the system. Elena nodded grimly. She had met Ambassador Thallon of the Aetherian Republic just 3 weeks ago during humanity's first official diplomatic contact with an alien civilization. The Aetherians were peaceful beings who resembled tall, graceful humans with silver skin and large, luminous eyes. Their society was built around art, science, and harmony with nature. They had never known war. That innocence was ending today. On the tactical display, the Aetherian fleet moved into formation. Their ships were works of art, crystalline structures that caught starlight and reflected it in beautiful patterns. There were 50 of them, each one a masterpiece of engineering and aesthetics. But they looked fragile compared to the monstrous vessels bearing down on them. The Vorthic fleet numbered over 200 ships, led by the massive flagship Worldrender. The command vessel was 5 miles long, its hull a writhing mass of organic metal that seemed to breathe. Weapon ports opened and closed like eyes, and tentacle-like appendages reached out to taste the vacuum of space. "Ma'am, Chief Science Officer," Dr. James Mitchell said quietly, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the Dominion ships. Their bioweapons are unlike anything in our theoretical models." Elena's hands clenched into fists. Earth's first contact protocols were clear. Observe, record, do not interfere. The Horizon's Dawn was an exploration vessel, equipped with only basic defensive systems. Against the Dominion fleet, they would last perhaps 30 seconds. But watching was agony. The battle began without warning. The Vorthic ships didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they released swarms of what looked like metallic insects. The swarms moved with purpose, each one guided by a collective intelligence that made them nearly impossible to intercept. When they reached the Aetherian ships, they began to feed. The crystalline hulls of the Aetherian vessels started to dissolve. The living metal consumed the ships from the outside in, breaking down their molecular structure and converting it into raw material for the Dominion fleet. The process was horrifically efficient. "My God," Dr. Mitchell whispered, "they're not just destroying the ships. They're consuming them." Elena watched in horror as Aetherian crew members tried to evacuate in escape pods. The Vorthic ships responded by growing new appendages long, serpentine extensions that snatched the pods from space like a spider catching flies. The pods were pulled into the alien ship's maws, where they disappeared into darkness. "Captain," Sarah's voice cracked, "I'm receiving a transmission from the Aetherian flagship. Ambassador Thallon is still alive. Put it through." The main screen flickered, and Ambassador Thallon's face appeared. The silver-skinned alien looked older than when Elena had last seen him, his luminous eyes dimmed with grief. Behind him, his ship's bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. "Captain Vasquez," Thallon said, his voice carrying across the void. "I know you cannot help us. Your people have their own laws, their own ways. But please, Remember us. Remember what we were. Tell the galaxy that we tried to live in peace." Elena's throat tightened. "Ambassador, the children," Valen continued. "We evacuated most of our young to the outer colonies. Perhaps some will survive. Perhaps they will find a way to carry on our culture." He paused, looking directly at Elena. "Do not let our art die with us. Do not let our music be forgotten." The transmission cut off as a swarm of bioweapons engulfed the Aetherian flagship. Elena watched the beautiful crystalline vessel crumble like sugar in the rain. The massacre continued for 6 hours. When it was over, not a single Aetherian ship remained. The planet below was covered in the same consuming metal that had destroyed the fleet. From orbit, Elena could see the great cities of Aetheria Prime being devoured, their spires and gardens turning to gray sludge. War Prime Korath, commander of the Dominion fleet, broadcast a message to the galaxy from the bridge of the World Render. The alien was a terrifying sight, 12 feet tall with 4 arms, covered in chitinous armor that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. His voice was like grinding stone. "Let all who hear this know the fate of those who resist the Dominion." Korath declared, "We are evolution itself. We are the future of this galaxy. Submit, and you may serve. Resist, and you will feed our ships." Elena turned off the transmission. The bridge of the Horizon's dawn was silent, except for the hum of life support systems. Her crew sat at their stations, their faces pale with shock and grief. "Captain," Dr. Mitchell said quietly, "what do we do now?" Elena looked at the tactical display, where the Vorthic fleet was already preparing to leave the system. Their ships had grown larger during the battle, fed by the destruction of the Aetherian civilization. Soon they would move on to their next target. "We record everything," she said. "Every detail, every weapon signature, every tactical pattern. We learn everything we can about these ... things. And then," Sarah asked, Alana's jaw tightened, "then we go home. And we make sure Earth is ready." The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. During that time, Elena's crew worked around the clock, analyzing the battle data and preparing detailed reports. They studied the Vorthic bioweapons, mapped their tactical patterns, and tried to understand how their living ships functioned. Dr. Mitchell made a disturbing discovery. "Captain, I've been analyzing the molecular structure of the Dominion ships. They're not just biomechanical. They're parasitic. They need to consume other technologies to grow and evolve." "What does that mean for us?" Elena asked. "It means they're not just conquerors. They're a galactic plague. Every civilization they destroy makes them stronger. Every ship they consume adds to their capabilities." The implications were staggering. The Dominion wasn't just expanding, it was evolving with each conquest. How could anyone fight an enemy that became stronger with every victory? When the Horizon's dawn reached Earth, Elena transmitted her full report to Fleet Command. The response was swift and decisive. Within hours, she was called to an emergency meeting at the Terran Defense Council. Admiral Sarah Chun, the head of Earth's military forces, listened to Elena's report with growing concern. The war room was filled with humanity's top military and scientific minds, all trying to process the implications of what they had learned. How many ships could the Dominion deploy against Earth? Admiral Chun asked Asterisk. "Based on our observations, at least 3,000, Elena replied. "And that's just their main battle fleet. They have garrison forces throughout their territory." General Marcus Thompson, the head of the Terran Marines, leaned forward. "What? About their weaknesses? Every organism has them." Dr. Mitchell stepped forward. "Their bioships are incredibly adaptive, but that adaptation takes time. They're most vulnerable during the first few minutes of combat, before they can analyze and counter new threats." "A few minutes isn't much time," General Thompson observed. "No," Elena agreed. But it might be enough. If we can develop weapons they've never seen before, we might be able to exploit that vulnerability. Admiral Chun stood up. How long do we have? Elena considered the question. Based on their expansion pattern, the Dominion reaches a new system every 6 to 8 months. They're currently about 12 systems away from Earth. We have maybe 8 months before they arrive. The room fell silent. 8 months to prepare for a war against an enemy that had conquered most of the galaxy. Then we'd better get started. Admiral Chun said, Dr. Mitchell, I want you to head up a new research division. Your job is to develop weapons that can hurt these things. General Thompson, begin mobilizing all available forces. And Captain Vasquez ... Elena straightened. Yes. Ma'am, I want you to train our officers. You're the only person on Earth who's actually seen these things fight. We need to know everything you learned. As the meeting broke up, Elena remained behind. She stood at the window, looking out at the blue marble of Earth hanging in space. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was coming. In 8 months, the skies of Earth might look like the skies of Etheria, Prime. But humanity had one advantage the Etherians hadn't possessed. They had warning. And they had something else, a burning desire to avenge the innocent people who had died while the galaxy watched. The next 8 months would determine whether humanity would survive to see another year. Elena was determined to make sure they did. Asterisk the Terran response 8 months later. The TDS Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Corvin system. The massive battleship was unlike anything humanity had ever built. A sleek, angular vessel 2 miles long and bristling with weapons that incorporated technologies reverse-engineered from the Dominion's own bioships. Captain Marcus Chun stood on the bridge, his dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. The son of Admiral Sarah Chun, he had spent the last 8 months preparing for this moment. The Indomitable was humanity's answer to the Vorthak Dominion, a ship designed specifically to fight biomechanical horrors. Contact bearing 27 Mark 6, reported Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, the ship's tactical officer. Dominion Battle Group, 12 ships. There. Feeding. Marcus's jaw tightened. On the main screen, the Corvin colony world was under attack. The peaceful farming world had been settled by refugees from 3 different systems, all fleeing the Dominion's advance. Now the Vorthak had found them. Survivors? Marcus asked. Detecting life signs in the underground shelters, reported Dr. Lisa Chun, the ship's science officer and Marcus's sister. But the Dominion ships are beginning ground operations. They're deploying harvester drones. Marcus had read the reports. The harvester drones were even worse than the ship-based bioweapons. They were designed to process living beings, converting them into protein paste to feed the Dominion's growing fleet. All hands, this is the captain, Marcus announced over the ship's comm system. We are about to engage the enemy. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Today, we make our stand. The Indomitable moved forward, its quantum engines propelling it through space at incredible speed. The ship's adaptive armor plating shifted and changed, mimicking the Dominion's own biomechanical technology, while maintaining the durability of human engineering. The Vorthak ships detected the approaching vessel and began to turn. Their hulls rippled as new weapon systems grew from their surfaces. The largest ship, a battlecruiser called the Flesh Render, began broadcasting on all frequencies. Unknown vessel, you approach sacred feeding grounds, the alien voice said. Identify yourself or be consumed. Marcus picked up his communicator. This is Captain Marcus Chun of the Terran defense ship Indomitable. You are in violation of the Terran Protection Accord. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response was alien laughter. Terran? We have no record of this species. Are you another client race come to beg for mercy? No, Marcus said quietly. "We're something new." The battle began when the flesh render fired its primary biocannon. The weapon shot a stream of living metal that sought to envelop and consume its target. But the Indomitable was ready. Its quantum shields flickered to life, creating a barrier that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. The bioweapon struck the shield and simply stopped existing. "Impossible," the Dominion commander snarled. "Nothing can stop the feeding streams." "Today's full of surprises," Marcus replied. "Jake, return fire. Quantum torpedoes, full spread." The Indomitable's primary weapons were based on principles the Dominion had never encountered. The quantum torpedoes existed in multiple states simultaneously, making them impossible to intercept or counter. They struck the flesh render at the exact moment when its bio-armor was most vulnerable. The explosion tore through the alien battlecruiser like a hot knife through butter. The ship's living hull tried to seal the wounds, but the quantum damage prevented regeneration. The flesh render began to die, its biosystems failing one by one. The other Dominion ships responded immediately. They swarmed toward the Indomitable, their hulls rippling as they grew new weapons, specifically designed to counter the human ship's defenses. "They're adapting," Dr. Chun reported. "Bioweapon modifications detected. They're trying to create something that can penetrate our shields." Marcus smiled grimly. "Then we'd better not give them time to finish." The Indomitable moved like a dancer through the Dominion formation. Its engines were based on principles of quantum mechanics that allowed it to exist in multiple positions simultaneously. To the Vorthic ships, it seemed to flicker in and out of existence, making it nearly impossible to target. Deploying Hunter-Killer pods. Lieutenant Commander Morrison announced that the Hunter-Killer pods were Marcus's favorite innovation. Each one was a small, autonomous weapon system programmed with one simple directive: find the most important system on an enemy ship and destroy it. They were based on humanity's pack-hunting instincts, working together to bring down larger prey. The pods swarmed over the Dominion ships like metallic wasps. The bioships tried to swat them away, but the pods were too small and too fast. They found weak points in the alien hulls and burrowed inside, seeking the bioneural networks that controlled the ships. One by one, the Dominion vessels began to lose coordination. Their biosystems went into shock as the Hunter-Killer pods severed key neural pathways. The ships flailed in space like wounded animals, their weapons firing randomly. "Neural disruption confirmed," Dr. Chun reported. "The Dominion ships are losing coherence. Their biosystems are shutting down." But the battle wasn't over. The largest Dominion ship, a dreadnought called the World Eater, was still functional. Its captain, War Prime Korath, broadcast a message filled with rage and disbelief. ***. "What are you?" he demanded. "What manner of weapon is this?" "We're humans," Marcus replied, "and we don't surrender." The World Eater was a monster 3 miles long and covered in weapons that had been grown from the remains of 1,000 conquered civilizations. It fired everything it had at the Indomitable, filling space with bioplasma and living metal, but the human ship was too fast. It danced between the weapons, its quantum engines allowing it to exist in multiple positions simultaneously. The Indomitable struck back with its most powerful weapon, a quantum lance that could cut through any known material. The lance struck the World Eater at its center, where the bioneural core was located. The beam went through the ship's hull like it was made of paper, severing the connections that held the massive vessel together. The World Eater convulsed once, then went still. Its biosystems shut down completely, leaving it a dead hulk floating. In space, the surviving Dominion ships began to retreat, their biosystems too damaged to continue fighting. But Marcus wasn't about to let them escape. "Jake, target their engines. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Sir, we're going to need prisoners. And more importantly, we're going to need to send a message. The Indomitable's weapons struck the fleeing ships with surgical precision, disabling their propulsion systems without killing their crews. The Dominion vessels drifted helplessly in space, their biosystems struggling to repair the damage. Marcus opened a channel to the defeated fleet. This is Captain Chun. Your ships are disabled. Your crews are alive. That's more mercy than you've shown anyone else. War Prime Korath's voice crackled with hatred. You think this changes anything? The Dominion has thousands of ships. We will. Return with a fleet that will blot out your sun. Maybe, Marcus admitted, but now the galaxy knows you can be beaten. And we're going to make sure they know how to do it. The rescue operation took 6 hours. The Indomitable's shuttles evacuated the survivors from the underground shelters on Corvin Colony. Nearly 10,000 people were saved: farmers, engineers, teachers, children. They had been hours away from Death Dot as the last shuttle docked. Marcus stood on the observation deck, watching the disabled Dominion ships drift in space. They were already beginning to repair themselves, their biosystems slowly adapting to the damage. But it would take weeks for them to become fully functional. Again, Captain, Dr. Chon said as she joined him, I've finished analyzing the Dominion biotechnology. I think I know how to create a weapon that can permanently disable their ships. Marcus turned to his sister. How? Their biosystems are based on a form of quantum entanglement. Every ship in their fleet is connected to every other ship. It's how they share information and adapt so quickly. And that's a weakness? Lisa smiled. It's the weakness. If we can create a quantum virus something that spreads through their network, we can shut down their entire fleet at once. The implications were staggering. A weapon that could disable the entire Dominion fleet would end the war in a single stroke. How long to develop it? Marcus asked. With what we've learned here? Maybe 3 months. Marcus nodded. Then we'd better get started. The galaxy isn't going to save itself. As the Indomitable prepared to leave the Corvin system, Marcus recorded a message to be broadcast throughout the galaxy. The transmission would reach every world, every civilization, every species that had lived in fear of the Dominion. People of the galaxy, he said, this is Captain Marcus Chon of the Terran defense ship Indomitable. Today, we engaged the Vorthik. Dominion in battle. Today, we prove they can be defeated. He paused, looking out at the stars. For too long, the galaxy has lived in fear. For too long, civilizations have been consumed by these parasites. That ends now. Humanity stands with all free peoples. Together, we will drive the Dominion back to whatever dark corner of space they came from. The message spread throughout the galaxy at faster than light speed. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved, peoples looked up at the stars with new hope. The Dominion could be beaten. The nightmare could end Dot, and in the depths of space, the Indomitable set course for Earth, carrying with it the knowledge that would change the galaxy forever. The war was far from over, but for the first time in centuries, the forces of freedom had hope. Humanity had arrived among the stars, and they had brought justice with them. Asterisk,